Hello everyone, I'm Yvonne, a children's librarian here at the Manchester City Library, and welcome to Elementary Experiments. Here we do experiments and activities aimed at elementary grades 1 through 6 with a focus on STEAM, or science, technology, engineering, art, or math. This fall we are changing up our dates. So we are going to have in-person events at 3:30 p.m. on the second Wednesday and the fourth Tuesday of the month. We will be putting up our videos at the same time as our in-person experiments, which again is a little different than how we normally do it during the school year. But if you want to join us in person next time, please visit our website to register. Remember, in-person attendance will also guarantee you a kit to make our craft with. Although any extra crafts will be available at the Children's Reference Desk for anyone's grade 1 through 6 who wants to make them at home, possibly following along with our videos. Now that we've got all of that covered, let's get into this week's elementary experiments. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's elementary experiments, where we are going to be doing some Ooky science in the spirit of spooky season. Let's go ahead and gather what we need for our activity. This one does include some chilling time, so you are going to need to put our slowly bubbling slime into the fridge and leave it there for at least a few hours. So make sure that you have enough time and a refrigerator before you decide to start this project. Hello everyone, I hope that you have gathered what you need. We do have a very unusual ingredient in our activity today. It can be found at quite a few grocery stores, although not all of them, because like I said, it is a little bit unusual. You can also order it online if needed. But what we have here is some xanthan gum. And basically what this is it is generally a food additive, and it is a thickener. And then the xanthan gum is actually used in a lot of different things, including like salad dressings, a lot of ice creams, some toothpaste, all to make it sort of that thick texture and even texture. To make our slow bubbling slime, we are actually going to mix this xanthan gum with some vinegar. So I know that we have talked about our reactions with baking soda and vinegar before. Not too long ago, we had an elementary experiments about carbonation, where we also touched on baking soda and vinegar. So we are going to use this again because the reaction is basically never not cool. But first, what we got to do is we got to thicken our vinegar with our xanthan gum. So we are going to go ahead and put about 1 cup of vinegar, and then we are going to take our xanthan gum and put about 2 teaspoons into our vinegar. You can put a little bit more if you want it to get more thick. I will warn you guys that although we are making a slow bubbling slime, it's not going to be like as it's going to be more slimy than most of our slime that we make with to make toy slimes. So be ready to get your hands dirty. It will wash off. The only thing that can really stain is if you put too much food coloring in it, but that's always the case. So your hands are going to get dirty. It is going to kind of stick to your hands, but it is, I think, worth the cool effect. So we're going to get into that. So go ahead and put your cup of vinegar in here, and then add in your xanthan gum, and then you are going to mix it up and add any food coloring that you want. When you mix up your xanthan gum, it is still going to have like little pieces of gum in there, especially if you are mixing by hand, but that is okay. You're just going to mix it up until you feel like it's good enough. And then we are going to go ahead and put that into the refrigerator for at least 4 hours or overnight. This is the part where it's going to take some time. And so I am going to use the magic of editing to get us back here with my finished product. But just so you know, it is going to take that amount of time. Okay, so here we have my xanthan gum and vinegar mixture. You can see that it is goopy, but definitely still like slimy, right? So we're going to give it one quick little mix to make sure that we have gotten in as many particles as we can. Again, if it's not perfect, we're basically recording a swamp or like a bubbly cauldron. So if it's not 100% all smooth, that's okay as well. But our next step is actually to take a flat bottom bowl or tray. I'm going to go ahead and use this, so hopefully you guys will be able to see it better. We'll see how that goes. And we are going to sprinkle a bit of baking soda onto the bottom of our bowl or tray or whatever it is that you have. So I've got a relatively even-ish layer. And then basically what we're going to do is we are going to pour our thickened vinegar into our bowl, and hopefully it'll be enough to like have about maybe an inch of slime on top of the baking soda. Okay, we can already get some bubbling going on. Let me see if I can get you guys a good angle on this. As you can see, there is a slow bubbling process. And honestly, the thicker that you make your vinegar, so the more xanthan gum you put into your solution, the slower the bubbling is going to be. It might feel cooler because in general, when we think of slime, we think of like a thicker sort of goo. But in this case, we are having the vinegar has to kind of sink through, right, and touch the baking soda, which is on the bottom. And then there has to be that reaction between the baking soda and vinegar, which releases the carbon dioxide. And then the carbon dioxide has to travel up through the thick xanthan gum before it can pop on the surface and make that sort of bubbling motion. So you saw when I did stir it up a little bit, we got like a really bubbly patch. Like I said, this one I did add a little bit more thickener. I think might have actually been closer to 3 teaspoons than 2. So just be a guide for that. But also, since we have our bubbly swamp going on, I would also just want to say that now is a good time to bring out any figures that are okay to go into a slimy and vinegary little swamp, and stick them in as well, and start having some fun with any battle that you guys can come up with. And like I said, you can definitely get your hands in there. You will need to wash and wipe them off afterwards, but it is safe to play with. And I would encourage you guys to have fun and really like feel how the slime bubbles as you touch it. I think that's probably one of the cooler bits of it. All right, we're gonna do another run through with a xanthan gum that is thinner. So this one did only have like the 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum in it. Let's go ahead and see how this reacts. You can see how much more liquid it is. All right, so I think you can see how much more bubbly this version is. And honestly, considering that we really can't get the xanthan gum, or at least I can't with just what I have here, get the xanthan gum to like a real kind of normal slime consistency. Honestly, the thinner xanthan gum might be worth just going with. It just depends on really what you want in your slow bubbling slime. Again, it's the same stuff, so you can also go ahead and have your toys play in this. Oh no, I really love this here. Let me show you guys. Look at this. It's just bubbling as I hold it. It feels pretty cool, actually. Yeah, I mean, I do have a towel ready because, like I said, this stuff doesn't really come off like a normal slime, but it is really fun just to have the experience of messing around with. Okay, well, I will leave you guys to make your decision on if you want a thicker slime that is maybe better for playing with figures in, or if you want just the cool bubbly reaction that you can like feel more on your fingers. All right, I think that is all for the activity. I'm gonna do some cleanup and I will meet you back here for our craft. Hello everyone and welcome to our craft. This week we are doing a candy corn experiment. Our slow bubbling slime was a lot of fun, but this time we're going to do a little bit more with the scientific method. So if you can get to the library, you can pick up our candy corn experiment kits. Inside there will be the instructions as usual for the candy corn and for our slow bubbling slime. There's also going to be a sheet, our candy corn experiment sheet, that is all ready for you to fill out. There will also be a index card for keeping track of our samples. And finally, there is going to be 5 different cups and 7 pieces of candy corn. So basically what we are going to do for this candy corn experiment is you are going to find 5 different types of liquid, or less if you want. You don't have to fill up all 5, but we do have 5 slots on our experiment sheet. And what we're going to do is I would suggest finding an adult to help you decide what types of liquid will be safe to do with this experiment. Because, you know, sometimes liquids really need to be handled with special materials or in a well-ventilated space. And in general, we are going to avoid those and do some just more simple options. But if you get an adult and they tell you that what you want to use is both allowed and safe, then go ahead and write the names of those liquids on here. Like I have gathered 5. I'm going to try just plain water. I'm going to try some vinegar. I'm going to try some baking soda and water, some lemon juice, and then some light corn syrup that I found. And what we're going to do next is we're going to go to our hypothesis and prediction column. And we would go ahead and write down what we think is going to happen when we put a candy corn inside of each of these liquids. You can also draw pictures if you would rather draw pictures of what you think the candy corn will look like at the end of our experiment. So for me, let's see, I think that the water will like dissolve it a little bit. I think that the vinegar will probably dissolve it like a bit more. You know, I don't know that the light corn syrup is actually going to do anything. And then the lemon juice, I think is going to be maybe like after the vinegar. I think the vinegar might take chunks out of it. And then the baking soda and water, I'm not sure about that. I think that it will, dissolve better than the water, but like not as good as the lemon juice and vinegar. That's just my guesses. I actually haven't done this before. So those are my hypotheses and predictions. And then we are going to set up our cups. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to write what I'm going to put into each cup on the cup so I don't forget. And then I'm going to put the same amount of each of my liquids into my cups. I'm going to put enough so that it will cover the candy corn. And then I'm going to set my timer and I'm going to check on my candy corns about every 10 minutes. Now, you will have noticed that I have 5 cups, but I have 7 candy corns. All right, so I'm going to put 5 of those candy corns, 1 into each cup, but I'm going to keep a candy corn to be my control. So a control is something that you can use in an experiment that you don't do anything to. So you can compare a candy corn that has been in, say, vinegar, and then look at the difference between a candy corn that has just been sitting on the counter and a candy corn that has been in vinegar. And then you won't like misremember what the candy corn looked like at the very beginning because you'll have it right there in front of you. And then finally, we have a 7th candy corn just in case one of the candy corns gets lost or goes missing during our experiment. We'll have a backup. That being said, I will say, please do not eat the extra candy corn because these are were put in our bags for experimentation. So they were not like kept in a sealed container. We knew that these were going to be for experimentation. So please use them for experimentation and wait until you actually go trick-or-treating to get candy to eat. All right, I'm going to set this up and see how it goes. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pop these in, and then I'm going to start my timer. 10 minutes have passed in my experiment, and I'm pretty pleased. It looks like most of my predictions that I can see are pretty correct, but I'm actually going to give it another 10 minutes. To hopefully just make it a little bit more dramatic. And you can lengthen the time. Here on the very bottom of the sheet, there is a place to say the total time in the liquids. So if you are checking and there isn't a lot of change and you want to let the experiment run longer, that's totally fine. Our goal is basically to get all of the candy corns out of the liquid at the same time. So if they've all been in for 10 minutes, that's fine. If they've all been in for 30 minutes, that's fine. If they were all in for 5 minutes, that would be fine. Just so long as we don't leave like one in for longer than the others or like much longer than the others, because that will skew our data or give that one more time to dissolve and it would be unfair, right? Okay, 10 more minutes. It has been 20 minutes, so now it is time to take out my candy corn and see if it aligns with my hypothesis. All right, so let's start with our water. So if we compare these two, it is pretty obvious that the water did do some major dissolving. It's kind of like from the edges inward, but it definitely did a lot better than I thought it was going to do. Vinegar, and this is really shiny. I don't know if you guys can see it. But we have our vinegar here. Definitely did not get as dissolved as I thought it was going to be. We do have like a little bit of more pockets taken out of, like little chunks taken out of. But definitely not going along with my hypothesis. I think that I was incorrect in this experiment, but that's fine. That's how we learn, right? Okay, so the next one is baking soda. One here. compared to our control. It definitely is a bit eaten away. There are, again, a couple of pockets, but not too much happened with the baking soda and water. Here is my lemon juice right here. So it did break apart, but is like arguably not as dissolved as the one in the water, which is very interesting. And finally, we have the light corn syrup, which I thought was going to do nothing. And I think I was right about that one. It looks like the light corn syrup right here, well, if you can see it before it slides right off, really didn't do anything if you compare it to our control. All right, so then I would go ahead and write in the conclusions on my sheet of what we actually saw. All right, here is my completed candy corn experiment. It's not the neatest, but it's more important that we were safe and had fun and learned a little something than turn in a perfectly neat sheet. But here we are. I went through and did some comparisons in my conclusion. Like I talked about how much in size they decreased. Like the water, I said it went down to 1/3 of the size of the original. So in my written report, I did try and be a little bit more specific about what I observed. It's good you can talk about some good vocabulary words for what you observe in your candy corn and what would give the person reading the report the best picture of what you saw if they didn't have pictures themselves. But yeah, I was definitely surprised at some of our findings in my experiments. Remember, you can use any 5 or really any liquids that you want in this experiment, as long as you got the okay from a grown-up and they are safe. So if you want to try out some other ones, like maybe a kind of soda or a different kind of juice, you can do whatever you want, because we have just the outline of how to do the experiment, and the rest is basically up to you. So I hope you have fun, and I hope you're a little bit surprised with what happens, just like I was. All right, everyone, I hope that you enjoyed joining me for this elementary experiment where we explored Ooky science. Remember, if you want to do these activities in person and make sure that you are able to pick up a craft kit, please go to our website and register for our next elementary experiment, which is going to be on November 8th, where we are going to be looking into a natural disaster. The reveal of our theme will be at the end of this video. I will also put in some books that you might find interesting if you enjoyed this experiment and activity. So a look for that. Otherwise, I guess we are done, and I will see you next time. Till then, bye.